Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 95 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And this is Mark Vila from Coleman & Company, and today we are here to talk about how to build your first website with WordPress.
And we're doing that from very far away, it looks like. I'm looking at the camera, we're hello,
yes.
Hello.
I've got more swag, new swag, brought to you by Digital Heat Effects.
Yes.
Again, similar to last week.
It's a printed koozie, you should really see it.
It's a printed koozie, and what's great about this is the water that I had was room temperature already when I opened it.
But so it's going to stay that way
It's going to stay room temperature no matter how hot this room gets.
I don't have any swag, but because I don't, Mark Vila said he's going to do close-up magic for me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Next time, I'm going to bring in a magic trick.
Nice.
I've got a really good one.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready.
So,
I'll be out that day.
WordPress.
WordPress. So, first of all, we're picking WordPress because almost everyone chooses WordPress.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It's the default. I mean, there are people there's a lot of great services out there. Most people use WordPress, and I must have done 2 or 3 dozen sites.
Yeah, I was trying to consider how many I've done, and I'm just forgetting more than I'm remembering. I'm like, oh, wait a minute,
I've done at least a dozen for ColDesi.
Yeah, and so some stats on this. There's about 25% of the internet is on WordPress, which is fascinating. Okay, and then WordPress is a content management system, and we'll talk about that. But of the content management systems, I was reading that WordPress is 60 to 65% of all content management systems. And there's a handful of them out there that do the same thing. WordPress is more than half of all of them that are this style of build.
So let's talk about what CMS is.
Sure.
How about that? So CMS, Content Management System, is just a friendly interface to build a website with WordPress. Before, what you had to do is you had to be a programmer to make the logo show up in the upper left-hand part of your screen, to make this box be text. And a lot of the evolution, before you get to WordPress, was varying degrees of that. So WordPress and others like Wix and GoDaddy has their own site builder. A bunch of them, they're now almost exclusively just drag and drop, and what you see is what you get, and all of these things are already built for you, so you don't have to be a programmer. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what a CMS is. It means we have to think of something that stands for that is not programming.
Yes. So content management system can be considered like. A lot of different things I've thought about what it's like. So it's like,
what is it like?
It's like baking cookies, or it's like buying a box that's got all the ingredients in it for you. It's like it's the difference. It's like paint by number.
Oh, it's the meal prep painting. That you order. When you order
it's like a
box.
Meal prep. So what it is it's built in a way that you don't have to know how to do everything. You don't have to understand the science or the development behind all of it. It just gives you the ability to make a website on your own with little knowledge. Now, I would consider WordPress to be on the scale of on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest. You have to know all the development, and 1 being a Facebook page. I consider WordPress to probably be somewhere in the middle. 5,
I was going to say a 6.
6. It's not super easy. That's why we have this podcast today.
It's not super easy, but it is comparatively easy.
Yes, it's much easier, and once you understand it, you'll be able to build dozens of sites.
Yeah, you can do it, and it also will help you just to know, listen to what we're talking about. So you get familiar with what a CMS is and all the steps and everything. So if you do, and we'll talk about that too, if you do end up hiring out and getting somebody to do your website, you know what's going on. Maybe you can get in the back end and delete stuff.
And you might go through this, and we talk about it at the end. You might go through this and say, this is not for me. Just like some people in embroidery, they go through digitizing's not for me. I just send that out. I can run the equipment and sell. Digitizing's not for me. This may or may not be for you. But once you've done it yourself and you realize, you know what, I did all this in 3 hours, and then somebody quotes you $1,000 to do what you did,
or 10.
Then you could say, look, I did it myself before in 3 hours. I just don't want to do it again. And you'll know. So anyway, I'm going to start off with, I'm going to sell you on why you should use WordPress right now, and you can join in. But I'll start with because you want to use WordPress when you want to build a website with limitless possibilities.
Right.
That can be changed by you or just about any web developer out there at any time.
Man, I think that's the biggest commercial because I talk to people that have sites custom developed.
Yeah.
Or they're using something very niche specific, like it's a website that only does custom T-shirt design uploads for screen printers.
Yeah.
And those all have advantages. But one of the disadvantages is the number of people that know how to fix it and use it and make it great, and the number of people who know what to do if it does bust.
Yeah.
So like I love WordPress because I know what to do, but if it breaks, I can probably find 500 people in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
that are perfectly willing to help.
And and silly things all the time, somebody will say, there's a typo on your website.
Yeah.
If with a WordPress site, even if you didn't build any of it, if you know the very basics, you can go in there and fix that typo.
Right. As opposed to if you have a website that somebody else did right now and you can't do anything, you know what it's like. You have to fill out a work order.
Yeah.
And get on their schedule to have them fix, there versus there.
Yes, and they charge in 15-minute increments for $125 an hour.
Yeah.
So that one letter deletion might cost you $25.
We're going to leave it. That's just the way I spell that.
So the second reason is if you aren't sure if you want an e-commerce store yet. So right now you're not building one, but you're not sure in the future because you can always add one to this.
Yeah.
You can easily do it.
So one of the biggest benefits to WordPress is that it's kind of, I'm going to use an example that's going to tick off probably 75% of you. It's kind of like PC versus Mac.
Okay.
Okay. So like there are a million people that can do that can write an app or write a plugin or software for Windows.
Yeah.
It's an open platform. There are not that many people that can do it for Macintosh because it's for Apple because it's a closed platform. You can go through the process, but there's just not the volume. It's not as easy. WordPress is similar in that there are all kinds of people that spend all day trying to figure out cool stuff that you can plug into your WordPress site, things that'll do pop-ups and that'll play music and that'll allow you to embed a podcast into your WordPress site that'll do all that stuff. There's a lot of development going on and it makes it very easy to integrate new things.
And I would say like what part of what you said and like Apple responded by making their latest version of their development is this open source type of development.
There you go.
But what they don't have is the numbers, and WordPress has the numbers like the PCs do and like the Windows-based systems does. Is that Mac OS is 10%? Of computers out there. So if I have to develop a program, do I want to develop for 90% of the people or 10% of the people?
Right.
And that's how it is. If somebody goes on there and they develop something, have an idea, one of the first places you develop for is website, because I just made something for 25% of the internet.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So if you're considering posting articles or blog posts or doing or a podcast or a vlog, that's a great reason to do it because it's built to do that.
That was the original purpose of WordPress.
Yeah.
Was so you could publish a blog.
Yeah.
I mean, strictly that. So you're in, and I recommend that you do that.
Yeah.
They have at least a few good blog posts or good articles, and it's very simple to do.
If you want to just say, I want to write a little story about this customer, you took a few pictures, it's really easy to add that on. Just upload a couple pictures, write a little story with your signature on the bottom of it, and boom, you're on the internet.
Yep.
So if you want to manage your own website, that's the next reason.
Okay.
If you want to be able to manage it yourself or have the freedom, like we said before, for anyone to manage it, WordPress is the way to go.
So what does that mean, manage it?
So just do whatever you want at any point in time, I suppose.
Okay.
Just meaning that if you want to delete something off, if you want to change images on the site, if you decide you want to change the color scheme, any of these things, if you want to be able to have control at any point you want to play, tinker, change, have somebody in your company or your business do it, WordPress is a way to do it because there's a million ways to learn it.
I get it.
Yep.
That's good.
And the last one we have is you don't want to pay huge fees and maintenance costs of custom coding a site.
Man, let me tell you, if you see these big web development companies, they've got a beautiful website, they've got 35 people on staff, and they have words like Python on the front page, and that's not the name of their company, then what happens is that they will build you an amazing website to your specifications. They'll help you develop those. It'll cost you a lot of money. And when you need to make a change, you got to find the guy that did the original code to make that change.
Yeah.
So at ColDesi, we do some pretty intricate customizations. When one of you contacts us, we want the following things to happen. And that takes some coding.
Yeah.
And what we find is that because it's so complicated and so customized, it's hard to get 3 people that can identify and know what to do, how to add to it and how to fix it. If you have a WordPress site, it's much less likely to be like that. It's more like, oh, you've got a WordPress site, your pop-up won't come up, or you want to change the colors, no problem. Take me about 10 minutes.
Yes, and what else is interesting about it is if you've ever done work on your house, or you hired a contractor, or your car or something like that, and if you've ever heard a contractor say, whatever the last guy did in here is a mess. You know, if you've ever heard that with like electrical or plumbing or whatever, oh man, this is a mess. That developers feel that same way. So when you custom code a site, it might be a mess back there. So to get somebody to come in and clean it up, if you want me to clean up this plumbing, I'm gonna have to gut the whole bathroom. You know, and
you're gonna have to move. I'm gonna tear down the house.
Yeah, we actually just had that.
Yeah,
we had an expert look at back web development, and he basically said, "This is a mess. If you want me to work on it, I could try to fix it. It may or may not work, but really I got to do it from scratch."
Yes.
And so anyway,
that was a long commercial for using WordPress.
Yes. So
absolutely.
That was fun. Oh, can we do it again?
Well, we can talk about what the downsides are.
Okay. All right.
How's that? So so a downside to using WordPress is just like the downside for using any CMS. Is that they're always updating and changing things, making things better, which is why your phone has to reboot every 3 weeks, and why sometimes you'll log into Skype or one of your software packages and you don't recognize it anymore. WordPress has those kind of updates, and so do the plugins that you use. So you do have to pay attention to it. You've got to manage it. You've got to work in it on a regular basis.
Yeah, compared to if you use something that's more purpose-built, that like even Wix, you know, there's not as much stuff. Everything is built within this system. If you've got something like that, they've built the whole system. Yes. And this is really kind of like that Mac versus PC thing, because on the Mac system, everything's built for the system.
Right.
The hard drive, everything is built so this little computer just works so well.
Yep.
However, nothing works on it from the outside.
Yeah.
But everything inside it is super clean.
Try to hook that sucker up to your TV.
It's a difference.
I agree. And you know, the other side of that is that with something like a Wix application, you know, you're not going to get SEO tools. Yeah. The same, like not the same. Not going to get the industry standard kind of stuff.
And like Shopify would be an example. You're probably not going to have to go into that website and fix things very often at all.
Right.
Because it's a system built just for itself.
Yep.
But when you use WordPress, you're going to have different companies and different developers who have all put in knowledge to build one system, which means you can do anything you can imagine, but sometimes some things can break, and you're going to have to fix them one way or another.
And by break, so like I'll give you an example, and that would be, let's say that you're using MailChimp to send emails, and you're using a plugin for WordPress to display a MailChimp form to capture leads.
So a little form on the website that
when you go to contact
email,
us,
contact us, email.
Well, if WordPress makes a big update and MailChimp doesn't, that form might not work. If MailChimp makes a big update and WordPress hasn't caught up yet, or the plugin hasn't caught up yet, it might cause some issues.
So somebody they fill out the email address and it says error.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what's wrong? And then you have to log into your site, and then you see a little, this plugin needs an update, and you click on update, and usually it runs the update, and most of the time it fixes it. It requires a little bit of work like that. It's definitely not overwhelming, but it exists.
Right. It's not a set it and forget it.
Yeah. So there we go. So now that you're absolutely convinced to do this.
I think we pulled back in the end there. I think they're not.
No, it's a great platform. It's one of my favorites. It's easy to use. I've done a bunch of different ones, and there's plenty of people that would give reasons to use other things.
Sure.
And those reasons are valid, but we're going to talk about this one.
But probably not as good as ours because we pick WordPress most of the time.
So and let's start off with some steps. We've got 6 steps here plus some 7, a little 7th bonus stuff. And let's go through them. There's a lot of notes if you can see the pages here.
Yes.
There's very small font. So we're not going to say everything that we've typed up.
Right.
If you really want to get into a lot of the details, go on YouTube if you're listening to this, or go to the Custom Apparel Startups website.
Look at the show notes.
Look at the show notes, and we'll put all of the details in here along to links of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So go ahead.
So the first one I really like because it's picking your domain name.
Yeah, it's the funnest thing. It
really is. It's like picking a business name.
Yeah.
You're just going to torture yourself over it. What you do is, I hardly ever buy my domain names at, so first of all, domain name is when you look at the bar on top of Google when you search. www.markstshirtshop.com, that would be my domain and my URL. Okay, those are ways to talk about that. You can think of it as kind of, when you buy a domain, it's like buying it's like buying a sign. You don't have any place to put it yet, but you've got your business name on a sign. And you're just holding it in your hands. And they only make one of these signs. So you might have to get markstshirtshop.net instead of .com. And I know you've got some notes on that, but that's what before you build any website, you're going to need to have a domain name.
Yeah, and it's really more of you're paying a fee. Whether it's annual, every 5 years, you can choose how often you want it, but you're kind of renting that name for a while in a way. So generally you're talking $10 to $20 a year, depending on what's on sale and what you're buying and how many years you buy. But you buy it and you own that website for that period of time. And then at the end,
you own the name.
You own the name. Yeah. You own that name, not even the website. You just own that name, that spot in the internet, and then you have to re-register it over periods of time.
Right.
So
I think that the last domain I bought from Google.
Yeah.
It was $12. It was a great deal. Came with some other stuff. But where I always look for domain names at GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Because I think that's GoDaddy.com, just like it sounds. And if you wanted to open up Mark's T-Shirt Shop, that's the first thing you would do is you say Mark's T-Shirt Shop, and they would go to the universal URL registration place, and they would search for that, and they'll say, hey, it's available. It's $2.99, or it's $8, or it's already taken.
Yes.
And here are a bunch of options.
Yeah, or it's for sale.
It's
always for sale at some ridiculous price.
You're never going to want to buy one for sale.
The best one to start with is your businessname.com.
Right.
That's the first thing you search for, because that's what you want. If that's taken, then you start thinking about other options. Do I want a .net or a .biz, or can I add an extra letter? Not an extra letter, that would be weird. An extra word like the in the front, or online at the end.
You can't do .comma.
Or of your city name.
Yeah.
T-shirt. If it's if it's myfavoritetshirt.com, that's taken. My shaving t-shirt shop. My favorite t-shirt shop of Tampa. .com. So they get creative with it, and they'll suggest a bunch of things for you.
Yeah.
The big things are make sure that it's spelled right during every step of the checkout, because I own a couple that are not spelled right.
I do too.
So every step of the checkout, it says it. Read it again. Spell it out loud, because that'll be silly.
And you are going to regret, by the way, if you have a super long domain name like Custom Apparel Startups. Okay. CustomApparelStartups.com, because I know you guys have tried to type that in and screwed it up at least twice. There's 2 P's in apparel, right?
Yeah.
And there's 1 L.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just, it's bad.
And so we also own CAS Podcast.
Which is much easier.
.com. And that they're connected, so they go to the same place. And you can do that too.
Spelling is good.
Yeah, spelling is good. And then consider just different things. How easy is it to say?
Yep.
How easy is, some of these things, some of these names of businesses, no offense, but I have no idea how it's spelled. I can't even imagine how it's spelled. So if it's that hard, if it's that hard for the regular person, if you have to constantly explain what's Mark's last name?
Right.
Do you recall his last name?
Stevenson?
No, the other Mark. From
Theme.
No, that's one I'm curious how to spell. But the French Canadian Mark.
I don't know one of those.
We just talked about him. Mark is one of the folks and founders of Belket, which has
Mombercat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he works with us.
Yeah.
And so Mombercat is his last name, and I was kind of saying, I was like, if it was markmombercat.com,
yeah.
There's probably 100 different ways people try to spell it.
Yeah.
So consider the spelling and how you're going to communicate that to your customers, and then buy two if you need a short version.
And the other thing I'll say that's not on here is write them down, or better yet, type them out on your computer and look at them and make sure that they don't remind you of or spell different words when the letters are all run together.
Yes.
Because I wish I could remember the specific example, but I was buying another domain, and whatever it was, when you looked at it, it looked like Digital Sisters something.
Oh, okay,
But that's not the S was supposed to belong to the first word, and it got put into the second word, so it was a completely different.
Yes, and there's a few joke ones out there that are vulgar. That you don't want that. You don't want that as yours. So definitely, write it out. Also, if another practice you could do is type it out on your mobile device, because a lot of people are going to do that. And if you find it frustrating, there's lots of switches between numbers and letters, and it's frustrating to type out, consider that as well. And you can purchase 3, 4, 5 of them. You can even have a really simple one that's just initials.
And don't be too afraid of things that aren't .com.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try for the .com first, just because it's more familiar, but there are a lot of suffixes.
Yeah, .net, .co, .biz,
.marketing,
.us, .marketing.
There's tons of
stuff. So all that's fine, and people are getting more used to that now. So 10 years ago, I would have said, don't bother.
Right, because no one will go there.
Yeah, but nowadays it's fine. Okay. So once you've typed something in and it says it's good, it's available.
Yes.
And it should cost you basically between $10 and $20.
Yeah.
And if you use that Honey app on GoDaddy or Bluehost, if you're familiar with Honey, it's like a coupon plugin. It
sounds like a dating site.
Yeah, it's good.
It really does.
So anyway, if you're Bluehost.com and GoDaddy.com are the two we're going to recommend. We've used these. They work well. If you have the little Honey app, if you've heard commercials for it, usually if you hit that, there's a coupon usually for both of them. And the last one that I bought, I got for $8.
Nice.
So you can get them for. Don't spend more than $20 ever, unless you really are itching to buy something very specific. Right. So what do we have now?
Okay, so after you
purchase the rights, you own it. You've done step 1, complete checkbox.
Yes. Now, so what happens next? Because all you've got right now is you're holding a sign that no one else can see.
Yes, you're not even really holding a sign. There's a sign in a box in your garage.
Right. Because you don't have any place to put it.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
So now you get your hosting set up.
Right.
And why we recommended Bluehost and GoDaddy.
Yes.
By the way, if you notice their domains and URLs, you probably know how to spell those right away. And there's no question about what the words are. They've done a good job.
But they're both great examples as well, because Bluehost is a little bit, but you can't tell what they do by their name. Right? So GoDaddy...
Oh, you can with GoDaddy.
So don't spell that one wrong, by the way. So you can't really tell. So really, I mean, if you can't put T-shirt shop or A to Z in your, which seems to be what everybody wants to name embroidery places.
I thought it was a Stitch in Time.
A Stitch is going to be, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
Okay, you can have something close or something not related at all. You're going to make it about your business.
Yeah. So
okay. So hosting. What is hosting?
So hosting is it's the equivalent of renting an apartment.
Yeah.
Renting a storefront.
Yeah.
It's the place where all of the information is going to live, right?
Yeah.
If you take a picture, where does the picture exist? It exists on your phone. Right? That's literally where it exists.
Yes.
Then if you upload it to Facebook, it lives on your phone, and then it lives on a computer somewhere in the world that Facebook lives on. And that's what you need to do with your website. You're going to take WordPress and you're going to take this piece of software and you're going to design a bunch of stuff, and it's going to live on a computer somewhere. Right. And the reason why it can't just live on your computer is because it lives on a series of computers throughout the world. So no matter where you are in the world, you can easily, and that's kind of the whole point of the internet and hosting through something like that.
So it really is like, you've got a name, you need some place to keep the information. So you pick a host, someone who's going to keep all of your digital information, all the stuff that you put into your website, all the business transactions that flow in and out. Are going to be kept on someone else's computer.
Yes.
And that's what a host is.
And these are set up to be secure, so there's no hackers.
Triple redundant.
So, so if the computer, if the building that it's located in catches on fire, there's another building with a copy of it. So you won't even know that happened. So all these things happen. We mentioning GoDaddy and Bluehost, the part of why those are mentioned, and there's others out there that do the same thing, but they have Wordpress hosting, which means that essentially the very basic level of it is built and ready to go.
I think the kind of description you're looking for is but simple.
But simple.
It really is just,
but simple.
They're ready for WordPress. Both of these companies, when you purchase your hosting, they prompt you. Do you want to start a WordPress site right now?
Yes.
They're ready. Yes.
And if you talk to your friend who's a developer and knows a bunch about the internet, they're going to say, don't do that. You're going to spend more money. I can just install it myself for you on a place where you can do it for, instead of $80, $100 a year, you can get it for $20. Well, who's going to fix it when it stops working?
Right. And if that $80 matters so much, then you probably should not be investing in a website.
Just don't. Just do a Facebook page. So these places have support for that too. So while you're getting set up, when you get stuck, because you will, you pick up the phone and you literally get a person that you can talk to, and they fix it.
I was shocked because I did a website 2 weeks ago. And I was shocked at how easy it was. I was just I chatted with someone from Bluehost at about 1 o'clock in the morning because it looked too simple. There were steps I was used to doing that I didn't have to do. I'm just am I doing something wrong here, or do I just hit this button and answer these 3 questions?
And that's it. So it's great. So you get support with these two, and you get support for that WordPress, which is nice if you're trying to manage this yourself. Just the same reason why people purchase equipment from ColDesi rather than finding a factory in Africa that makes embroidery machines or something like that.
I don't think there are any.
But there probably
is. Could be.
The reason is because it's hard to be left out on your own when you don't know about something. It's hard to be left out on your own when you have something that costs you a lot of time and money and it breaks and you're not sure what to do. So similar to ColDesi, if you don't own equipment from us, or if you do, you know that you have an embroidery machine, and if something funky happens, you can talk to somebody who can advise you on how to fix it.
All the time. And this is a commercial I used to have to do more often than I do now.
Okay.
But, it used to be that when you mentioned you were doing a new website, the web developer or whoever you got to do it would always want to host it themselves. And what they were really doing is they were sending it to a computer farm, and they were making commissions on that. So their business really was like these little commissions that they would get from all the hosting. And the problem with that is, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to say, I want to do a new website out loud somewhere in a room full of people that you've met. And 2 of them are going to say, I got the best guy. He did my website, he hosts it, it's very cheap, he's very responsive. They're going to tell you that. And then you're going to remind them about the time that guy went on vacation. And you couldn't get him for 10 days and your website was down. Or he just turned out to be a jerk. It doesn't work after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why a company like Bluehost and GoDaddy with 24/7 chat and phone numbers, it's very relaxing.
It's not one person. That's what I had a friend of mine years ago that the person who set up their website and everything, just went missing. I don't know if they were actually a missing person, but their business email was out, their business phone number was out. He had some emails with his first and last name, but it was like Mark Smith.
Yeah.
So he couldn't find it, and literally having to search through like business registrars to get his address and mail him a letter.
Forget about a friend. One of our biggest suppliers, their website, they had that happen to them.
Oh, yeah?
The one person that did everything just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he finally got a hold of the person, and he had said that he was being sued. So he, it was all this stuff, and he's like, "I just need the password because I need to." Anyway,
so that's, I think we've scared them enough.
And so now, when you're setting up your hosting, you're going to be given a long list of options and prices. Yeah. Okay. Again, I said you can do it monthly or annually, typically, or sometimes multiple years. Somewhere in the range of like $100, $150 a year, maybe a little cheaper or more, depending on options. Read what the options are.
I paid $79 for mine.
I think that's what I just paid too, and then I think I ended up on the most recent one I did.
You got it cheaper.
I did monthly.
Okay.
No, the most recent one I did monthly, and I think it was $8.99 a month. So annually, it was it's more.
Yeah.
But you're only paying $9 a month on your credit card.
Yeah.
So you can choose how you want to do it. And I think that one, when I signed up that way, I got the domain for free.
Yep,
so then the math kind of works out where I did the math and I said, oh, actually, you know.
But here's what I will say is don't spend a lot of time on this.
Don't spend a lot of time on it. Look at it.
Pick the option. You want to try it for a year, get a year.
Probably the cheapest one is what you need.
Yep.
And if you're confused and you're not sure, you call their phone number, which is great about working with this, and you say, listen, I'm starting a website. It's for an embroidery business. I only do local stuff. I want a nice, clean place to post pictures, to post videos, and to share what I do, and put it on my business card. And they're going to say,
here's what
this is all you need. And then, or you might say, I want to sell things online. I'm going to have 100 products.
Yeah.
They're going to say, this is what you need.
So let's talk about some of the other things that they're going to offer you that you may or may not want.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the first one I'm going to bring up is this is where you get your email address with your domain name. Mm-hmm. So this is why it's mstevenson@coldesi.com. That's where that happens. If you didn't know, you don't have to use your Gmail address. But you can buy one of the next option that I was going to talk about are you can either opt to have G Suite or Office Online from Microsoft. Both of those for $5 or $10 a month give you a suite of products that you can use and an email address with your domain name on it.
Yeah, and I've always loved the Gmail one.
Yeah.
I've always found it to be really easy. Plus, if you use Gmail already, the interface is the same.
Yep.
And it's really easy to install on a phone or another computer.
Yeah.
And then the Microsoft one, I have less experience with, but I think that's what we use here.
We do.
So
we do.
I know how to use it through there.
Yeah.
And both of them are easy. I would be wary of anything that's not those two.
Yes.
Because you're going to have trouble getting it on your phone, and you're going to have to log into a specific thing online. You just want it to be easy.
Not even Yahoo. You go with one of those two options.
One of those
I'm
two.
going to make a solid recommendation.
All right. So, then another thing they might offer you is if you want your website to be private or not.
Right.
They can hide. There's a. It's you know what it's the equivalent of? It's like paying the yellow pages to not be listed.
Yeah, it's like paying for an unlisted phone number.
Yeah, an unlisted phone number, which I don't. That's not a thing anymore, right?
God, if it was, I would definitely have one.
But you could do that with your website. Here's the answer for that. If your business is you and everyone is going to know who you are and meet you and know that you're the owner, it doesn't matter. If you're selling offensive T-shirts online and you prefer to have some anonymity, you pay the $10 a year to make it private.
You're saying if you're a pastor.
If you're a pastor
and you don't want people to see what your website is all about.
If you're a pastor and you're selling atheist shirts, you want to definitely make
go
it
for
private.
Privacy.
So we finished step 2.
Yeah.
Step 3.
Wait, I just want to say that those are the two options that you should consider.
Yes.
Getting an email address with your .com on the end.
Yes.
And whether or not you want privacy.
Yes.
Those are really the two that you want to take a close look at. Everything else, there's SEO services, there's all kinds of other stuff. Just pass on that for now.
The SSL certificate, that's like a security certificate. In the beginning, for your purpose, if you're building your first site, for one, these things can be added. The only thing you can't do later is the privacy one.
I'll tell you that
once it's listed, it's listed.
I will say that Bluehost gave me SSL for free.
Nice. Yeah.
And I just said, and they said, do you want this? And I'm like, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So by the way, all of these prices and everything, they change like every week when they have specials.
Don't call us. Don't call us.
Yeah, they have specials all the time. They have coupon codes everywhere. So take a look. If you call them up, they might even have a special you can get on the phone. I don't know.
Okay.
So now, all right, we finished step 2 now. Step 3 is the initial setup. This is my favorite part because, like you mentioned with Blue Part, it says, "Do you want a WordPress site?" Yes. Installing WordPress site on your server right now, and done. Go ahead and next button. Set up website. Set up website. You've done. You've done your initial setup.
Pick a theme. It'll take you through the whole thing. It's crazy.
Compared to the other method, which would be buying like a cheap hosting service, which it's going to cost you a third of the price. But now you have to figure out how to get it on there. Is it a Linux server or a Windows server?
You got to download something into a zip file and then upload it to an FTP site.
Never going to work the right.
It probably said 3 things that you'll never really need to know. And
I've done that a bunch of times in the past. I hated that.
Yes, that's why we're in love with these services. Really.
So now, during this initial setup, it's also typically going to ask you, like, what's the name of your website? You also own this domain you just bought. Is this website for that? You're kind of going to confirm that and it's going to connect those automatically, which again used to be a pain in the neck thing to do. And might ask you some other things. Do you have a phone number, an address, an email you want to assign to it? And it'll plug who's going to be the main user. You could put in your name, and it's going to plug all this stuff into WordPress. So in the back end, there's going to be some things that can automatically be filled in.
Right.
So sometimes you can drag in like my phone number, and then that's the field you filled out. So it's just, these are things you can use later on, and by the way, you can change all that.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. So now, another fun part would be picking your theme.
So everything that we just talked about, even though we've been talking about it for about 45 minutes, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of time.
Yeah, if that.
Not a lot of time. This is where it gets into the time.
Yeah.
Is where you try to, the theme is, because it is a content management system like we talked about, the theme is a combination of some sample blank pages and the colors and the way that it's laid out.
Yeah.
So for example, if we go through, you've got the sign, you get to take it out of the box now. You get to post it on the outside of the building. Now you have to build out the inside of your store.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. You're picking the paint, you're picking the font that you like, where do the windows go, where are you going to show off this product, where are you going to show off that product, how you want people to approach the front desk. Like all that stuff is exactly the same digitally. But the cool part is it's like if you could take all of your stuff and put it into a retail space and then just swipe and see how it looks in all these different environments. It's very cool.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It's like if you're using like the sign example, it's like, do you want a matte black chalkboard style sign? Do you want a neon, glowing sign? Do you just want a white corrugated plastic sign?
Yep.
Do you want a clear sign? So that's kind of what these themes are.
Yep.
And what you would do kind of in WordPress, there's a section that says themes, or even these GoDaddy and Bluehost are even going to prompt you.
Yeah,
pick
they'll
a
recommend.
Theme.
Yeah.
And when you're looking through themes, you'll kind of see them. They'll do a little preview, and then there's usually an area where it says like see a live preview, and you click it, and it gives you a fake version of the site.
That's really what you need to do, is go through those live previews and see which one. It doesn't have to be exactly like you want it.
Yeah.
Generally, you like the way it's laid out. You like the way everything works.
And also read within them, because within that preview, it'll probably say, here are your font options in this theme. Here are the color options. You can do a dark theme or a light theme. They'll tell you these things. The themes are going to be free up to $100. I think that's
I mean, you can pay more.
Yeah, you can pay more. Most of them are within that range.
Right.
There are some that are a lot more, and they do more. And I think definitely for themes, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
If it's a free one, you're going to get free. It's not going to do much.
It'll probably look a little generic.
But
also, like this is the point where it really matters if you plan on eventually selling something on your website, because there are themes that are designed to work with the product plugins for WordPress. So for example, one of the really popular ones is WooCommerce. So if you buy a course from customapparelstartups.com, which I highly recommend that you do because they're amazing, if you do that, then those products actually exist on a WordPress website with WooCommerce installed, and that's kind of the plugin that handles, here's my product, here's a product description, here's how much it is, I can change the prices, click the button, take your money.
Yes, and typically the theme will say like WooCommerce compatible or other versions. It'll say on there. So picking the theme is great and it's fun and click through, and you can also change that in the future. It's work. You know, I mean, you're basically going to start from scratch like what you've done here, but you won't lose your website. So all the posts and the things you've written all exist. They're just going to be in a mess. You know what it's like? Changing your theme is like moving from one house to another. You have all the same furniture. It didn't go away, but now you have to figure out how I have to configure it because all the rooms are different shapes and sizes.
And WordPress will actually give you a live preview. So let's say you build your site on something basic and you don't like the way it turned out. You can actually do a live preview of exactly what you've already done and the way it would look in a different theme. Yeah. So it's great.
This is where the web developer person that you kind of know is going to sell you to build it all from scratch. Right. Which you don't really have to do that. We're talking about build your first WordPress site.
Saying, I'm saying no.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, there's no reason to unless. And everything I go back to is just this. If you've got a grandiose business plan with the money to back it up and you legit plan where you say, I'm going to do this and this is my plan. I know it's going to cost 10 grand. I've got the money in it. Then you have the dream. But that's not the most
I gotta say,
option.
I looked today at our podcast stats. Yeah. We've got a lot of people in San Jose, California that listen to us.
Oh, yeah?
So for all of you, for all of you that think a startup is when you only get $3 million in seed money, you guys do whatever you want.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
But for the most of the rest of you, Mark Veal is absolutely right.
The rest of the folks where you're trying to decide if you want to spend that extra $20 for the privacy. You know, don't spend your money elsewhere because themes take you really, really far. And you can even take a theme and then hire somebody later to say, I love everything but this one part. Can you make this, do this? And they can do that.
And they'll break it.
So let's see what else we wrote here. So we talked about, again, there's going to be free themes. They're tempting, but typically you're going to get free. And also the free themes usually have an upgrade within them, just like free apps. So you're going to get it, and then it's going to say, buy the premium to get this. I didn't know I was going to have to do that.
Red is the only color that you can use unless you give us.
Yes, unless you could buy blue for $2.99. So one website, so in WordPress, when you're in the theme area, they're going to have tons of themes. But I really like a website called Theme Forest.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And it's Envato Marketplace is what they are. So Envato Marketplace sells all types of stuff our customers would like stock images and stock videos and stuff like that. And they sell WordPress themes. And again, $5 to $100, you know, is most of them. And you can see more, but for your first website, you probably don't need to do that. In my previous experience, anything below $40 I usually find looks generic.
Okay,
you know, that's
fair.
Kind of a decent number to start at.
And I see that you've got installations and a little note about YouTube here.
Yeah,
I've found some amazing videos on using WordPress on YouTube.
Yeah, it's where I basically learned it.
Classes. Yeah, they'll bring you through it step by step for free.
Yeah, because the people who make the videos often sell themes, sell artwork, sell a plugin, and a plugin is like an add-on. It's like an app basically for it. So that's why you can find a ton of this free stuff is because so many people are selling the product. How do I get a form on my website? You find it on YouTube. And then there's a company that sells a really cool form plugin.
Yeah, by the way, if you use my plugin, then,
So now that you've picked your theme, hopefully you like it. I've picked and bought a theme and installed it and gone through the whole thing and just be like, I really don't like this. And then I buy another one. And you can also just say, I built a whole theme out, I hate it. I haven't even done any work on it yet. And you can call up like BlueDaddy or GoHost and say, can I just start over? And they'll just say, yeah. Click, click. All right, you're fresh.
Do you realize that you've got people searching for GoHost and BlueDaddy right now? And I don't know where those go. It's very important that you go to GoDaddy and Bluehost.
Okay. All right. So now that we've done that, we've
Yeah.
We've picked the theme, and you've bought it, right? If you buy it, one way or another, you're going to get a file.
Yep.
It's going to be on your computer. It's just going to be a file, and it's going to say T-shirt site theme. So now you need to install it. Another favorite part for when you use a GoDaddy or a Bluehost is when you go to install your theme, and it says you're in there, and you hit install theme, and then it asks you for the file, and you hit OK, and then it says a couple things pop up, and it says installed.
Yep.
And if you get a weird error or something like that, you can usually just call up and say,
chat.
hey, I got this error, and they're going to say, oh yeah, you have to do this instead. Did you unzip the file? No. Okay, well unzip it, the file you install is in there, things like that. So it's typically easy. Again, watch videos on how to do this if you get lost. There's a ton of videos on how to install your theme on WordPress.
But step number 6 here is really where it starts to get fun again, and that's beginning to customize the site. Because even though, so when you upload a site, depending on which one you get, some of them will have sample files.
Yeah.
Especially if it's an e-commerce site. What you'll do is you'll upload a template that has kind of sample products and prices and everything already set up. So you're just swapping pictures, and you're changing the text, and you're making the prices different. Sometimes that's good for when you just start out. Sometimes it's bad because you sell T-shirts, and maybe the standard is for watches, and you forget and you leave a couple of watches in there.
Yeah, or there might just be like the main header image might be like you buy a store-themed one, and the main header image is a hand with a couple watches, and that's the main image. You definitely have to replace that for a T-shirt store. What's cool about the images is when you've got that image, that you see it, you'll see media, and in media you'll see that, and it'll say main header image, and you click on it, and it tells you what size the file is, how big it is. So if you're creating art yourself or paying somebody to make the art for this big header art, you can say, here's the sample file, and you can send it to them.
Yep.
Or you can tell them,
tell them what the dimensions are,
and then when you upload the new one, it fits
perfectly. Yeah, it's a big win.
Yeah,
it's a big win.
So I talked about some sizes of images. This is what I find when I've seen a poorly done WordPress is when the images that get uploaded, like whether it's the images for the blog post or the images for the products or whatever it might be, they're the wrong size.
Yes.
And then they're blurry or they're cut off in spots, or something like that, or they've stretched the page out.
Facebook especially.
Yeah. So here, if you don't know about online images, they're usually measured in pixels. They're going to tell you. That's pretty much usually that's the way they're done. It's going to say upload an image that's 1,000 by 1,000.
Right.
That's the exact size they want it to fit into that spot. So 150 to 300, that's like an icon. That's something little on your screen. That's what 150. If it says 150 by 150, that's like an inch.
I've got a good example.
Yeah.
So if you have a LinkedIn profile or a personal Facebook page, that's about the size that your personal image is.
Oh yeah,
it's about 150 by 150.
Yeah, and then so the next there'll be all these places that you're going to see in WordPress that say featured image, and this is typically like if you go to a blog or anything like that, there's usually one square or rectangle picture with the title of it.
Yep.
So usually that's something around like 500 to 1,000 pixels. Yep. That's how big that needs to be. And then the background image, like a full page background, like 1,500 to 3,000 pixels.
Right, and by that, when you go to the websites, and as you're scrolling, you can see there's an image behind the boxes as you scroll. That is one graphic that's behind the entire page.
Yeah, and that might be...
It's big.
Yeah, 3,000 by 3,000. Yeah. So, and most of the time the site's going to tell you what to put in there or be in the examples, but it's very important to not try to jam. You can't jam a couch that doesn't fit on that wall. It looks silly, and that's what's going to happen here.
Yep, agreed.
So, let's see.
I like what you said here about...
Sure.
Two things. The first one is, I like what you said about in the notes about working on one thing at a time. It's very easy, especially for me, to get scattered and try to I'll be in the middle of editing a photo for the header image, and then I'll realize I need to do the description for the page.
Oh yeah.
So I'll stop and I'll go do that, and then I'll realize this, and I never get back to the image. You really should just do, I'm going to work on images today, or I'm going to work on the homepage today, or whatever it is. Just pick something and work on it.
Yeah.
You'll be happier.
Oh, I'm going to work on the text. I know I don't want the images of the watches on top. But I want to brainstorm that later, with my business partner on how we should have that in the top. I'm going to write the text underneath it, and then we're kind of imagine that's going to be there.
Yeah.
One of the things, I don't remember where I wrote it. Maybe I didn't write it, I just thought it. But in doing all of this, when you're working with your new theme and updating it and creating it and customizing it, there's going to be some documentation, whether it's video or written, that comes with your theme.
Yeah.
It might be a document that you download. It might be on their website. It might be a series of videos. Follow those 100% in the beginning, because it's going to tell you. I just made this mistake the other day.
Yeah.
I told you there was one little step. It looked wonky, and I couldn't figure out. I missed one step because I didn't go step by step. I skipped. I don't remember if I skipped on purpose or why, but I don't even remember seeing it. And I missed this one step, and it was checking a box, and the difference between checking the box or not activated something.
Right.
So follow the instructions to a T on that theme. They'll be right in there. And if you pay for a theme, you get support too, which I love. I love support.
Absolutely.
So you pay for a theme, $75, you love it, and then you get towards a step, it doesn't look right, you get to email them, and most of them respond pretty quickly. And then they say, check this box.
And here's the other thing is, if you do find yourself in that situation, you're 8 hours in, and you haven't been able to figure out how to change the font color.
Yeah.
Even if you have premium support through a theme or you don't, you can always, chat with GoDaddy or Bluehost. And honestly, if they can tell you how to fix it, they will. And if not, they will tell you where to go get the answer.
Yeah, and that's great too about when you pay for a service like that. So, and then the last thing, when don't try to build an entire site in a night.
Yeah.
Take it one step at a time. Let it be a project that takes however long, a week, to however long you need, depending on how complex you're doing it. But the basics that I wrote here are: you want to have a home page, your storefront. You want to have a contact page, a place where the people can get your phone number or fill out a form, get your address, see a map, all that stuff. People are going to be looking for that.
Yeah.
And then some sort of about page, a place to tell your story. For one, we've talked about this from like a search standpoint.
Google loves it.
Yeah, if somebody's searching for a t-shirt shop in Tampa, you put that in your about, or a t-shirt shop in Tampa. You also get to maybe talk a little bit about your brand, which we talked about in the previous.
I've always wanted to start a t-shirt shop in Tampa, so 2 years ago I stared a t-shirt shop in Tampa.
And then you get to say, we're an edgy urban company, or we are, we're a light and bubbly company that focuses on spirit wear. So you can describe your brand so your customers understand who they're talking to as well. So it's those 3 pages are kind of the must, and that actually can be just it. If you've got those 3, then you've got
that could be your whole website. But I am going to add one more to that.
Sure.
Something else that Google really loves is for you to have a privacy policy on your site. So it doesn't have to be one of the big menu items, but it should be a link somewhere. And most of the website themes will have a link to one.
Yeah.
As an example. And you don't have to write anything special. You can just Google privacy statements. And what this is it's your promise to your customer that you will do the best you can in protecting their information.
Yeah.
And that you're going to use their email address to spam them the rest of their lives, or you're not going to sell it, you're not going to mistreat their information on purpose. It's not a legal commitment on your part, but what it does do is it demonstrates that you're kind of a real company that is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, the only person who's ever read a privacy policy is somebody who is writing one or has to put one on their website.
Yes.
Nobody's ever read one.
Normally what I do, and I'm not saying this on the podcast, is normally what I do is I find a company like the one that I'm starting or working with, and I will copy their privacy policy and change it for me.
So Control F, their company name, replace with my company name.
Absolutely.
Control F and
city. Change
Control
the city.
F. All right. So you could do that. Don't do that.
No.
But I've heard of people doing that, and but realistically, there's also little companies out there which are cool. We use one on Coleman and Company that does they do that site security stuff, and you can pay a really small fee for an annual fee,
right?
And then they put a little badge on your site saying that you're private and you're secure, and then they give you a privacy policy that's legally written by a team.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
You just Google search
Don't
that stuff.
bootleg it like I do.
Yeah. So the last bit, which isn't a step but is just a question, is should you hire help?
Yeah. So and I actually still do both.
Yeah, me too.
What I'll do normally is I'll either have somebody else. I'll hire somebody for a reasonable amount of money to do all of the setup and the basics. And then I'll come in, I like to write. I like to provide the content. So I will do that. On the other hand, I've had somebody do the entire site, and that's all I do is write. Or some combination of those.
Yeah, and I'm not great with graphics.
Okay.
I know how to use Photoshop, and I could take a logo and fit it to go on a shirt.
Right.
But in like imagining what it's going to look like, blank slate.
You guys are great at that.
Yeah.
Like we've got some great customers
blank.
for that.
So I typically will hire somebody who knows how to do that, who has visions. And so I'll hire somebody to do the art. Now, we've talked about them before, but places like Fiverr, and there's no E in that, and I think there's two R's. Yes, it's really weird. Just Google search Fiverr, hire someone.
Yes.
Because if you put in the wrong one, it definitely sends you to like a weird site that's trying to scam you. But Fiverr is a company. Google search Fiverr, hire someone, and usually you can get somebody to make that main image for your website for $5, $10, $15.
Yeah. There's also like Upwork where you can hire a professional. There was freelancer.net. There's a lot of places where if you think you're going to need this kind of thing on an ongoing basis, what's that one service? I used it and I really liked it, but you paid like $350 a month.
Oh,
you had your own graph. Design Pickle.
Design Pickle
is really cool.
I remember them.
You pay X number of dollars a month and they assign you a graphic artist. And you can't use them all day, every day. But you get a relationship with somebody that will make the artwork for you, and it can be for a website or t-shirts.
Yeah, so you decide what you like. You can also do the opposite of what we said. If you're great with the art and bad with the writing, you can hire somebody to write.
Yeah.
You send them an email and say, "This is the message I want to say. Make it sound nice," and they will write it for you. And they probably even know how to publish it to WordPress, and they could publish it.
Or 27 hours in. And you can't get it to look the way you want.
Yes.
You might just want to get somebody else to do it.
That's what's the beauty about this is what you've done is whoever you hire is going to charge you. They're going to charge you like $100 just to do what you did in that first hour.
Right.
Just like going to the GoDaddy, buying it, clicking the setup, installing the theme, all the things that you basically can't mess up, and if you do, you call up GoDaddy and they help you.
Yes.
You've done that, and the company's going to charge you $100 to $200 just to do that, because it's going to take you maybe an hour, and they charge $150 an hour. So you're going to pay $150 for that.
That's it.
So, so you might decide a few different things. So you hire somebody to help you with custom.
I just Googled BlueDaddy.
It's safe.
It looks safe. It looks like a blues band.
A blues band. They look pretty cool.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I hope they get 1 million hits on their website because we mentioned them by accident.
Keep going. So you can hire somebody to help you customize, design, get things right. You can hire somebody you got through all of this and you say, you know what, I like this theme. I really wanted to get it to look a certain way. So you end up finding somebody and you say, hey, I have a WordPress site and a WordPress theme. I just want to hire you to make it look like I want and just do it within the realms of the theme so I can edit it a bit later.
Yes.
And you could do that. You can even hire somebody on one of these websites to do it with you over Skype and teach you. There's so many things you can do.
Do you know how I really learned how to do WordPress?
No.
Is I found somebody on Craigslist that teaches WordPress, and I met him at a coffee shop for like 4 weeks in a row. We spent like 2 hours a week. Yeah. And he just popped open his laptop and taught me how to use WordPress.
Yeah, it's basically how I learned tons of stuff in Excel.
Right.
Say I went on to, I don't remember what site I went on. I went out to one of these sites. I found somebody, they charged $20 an hour. I think I did like 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. Yeah. And I said, here's all the things I want to learn. How to do, and we did it over Skype, so you could do that with WordPress too. Yeah,
very cool.
So let's see here. Do we have anything else?
No,
really. That's the stuff.
Your next step is just you don't have to be in WordPress every day. Like once the site's all done, you don't have to constantly do something
Yeah.
with your website, and I would probably urge you not to.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, unless you're contributing, you know, blog posts and that's where you're going in, but don't constantly change things for no reason. Just because you're tired of looking at the homepage image doesn't mean anyone else has been there more than twice. You know, just because you saw another website that you liked doesn't mean that it actually physically works better and gets more people to call or buy things than the one you already have.
Yeah.
So try, the technical term is futzing.
Yeah.
Futzing. It's messing with something just because you can.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
just
true.
because you can, do a good website, make it solid, make it attractive. You know, make sure that people can do what you want and are led to do what you want them to do. And then after that, maybe once a month, you go into the back and you see if anything needs updated, and then you get out.
Yeah, and I find that that when it comes to this, the reason why you've made the website is because you listened a couple podcasts ago about whether or not you should have a website or not, right?
Do you think people listen to more than one of these podcasts?
A couple people have.
Okay.
And so you listened to it, and you said, what are some questions that I'm going to ask myself about marketing? And one of them was, do I need a website? And then you kind of made the choice and said, yeah, I want a website because I really want to step up my professional look. I don't just want it to be a Facebook page.
Yep, okay.
I don't just want a LinkedIn page. I want a website. I want a storefront on the internet. So you've made these, and then at that point in time, once you're here, before you've started this, maybe even before step one, is have a little bit of a plan on what you would like in the future. So in the future, I want to advertise on Facebook to get people to fill out a contact form so I can sell their company, their custom apparel.
Yep.
You know, I plan to sell shirts online. I plan to have a lot of blog posts, so when people search this particular type of apparel, they're going to find my company. Or that when I plan on doing events locally, and I want to be able to post the events on here and share it on Facebook, and people can come here and read it. Think about your long-term plan. And then start learning about how to do that on your website if you're going to manage it yourself. Or start planning. You've got a website up, and then you start planning by finding out how much would it cost to get that custom thing made, baby. Or is there, so continue to research on WordPress, watch videos, subscribe to some blogs or YouTube posts, and continue to learn, and you're going to get inspired about what to do. And just always have that running plan of what the future of your website is going to be. Yeah,
never forget that where you make money is in selling t-shirts, not in making t-shirts.
Yeah.
So, you know, keep that in mind. All right, folks, you are definitely going to want to check out the show notes on this. There's tons of information. We're going to pack it full of good links. It's going to be great. This has been Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And Mark Vila from Coleman & Company.
You guys have a good business.